to give me your thoughts. Is being white a privilege? You don't have to answer it out loud, but I want you to process it just for a little bit. Is being white a privilege? Some of you are wrestling with it. What's the right answer to that question? A lot of people, there would be times where we probably have gotten some advantages in some situations. But I'd say there's situations where we haven't gotten advantages. We certainly have it promoted to us as a point of tension in which that is a thing which we need to actually reject. But that's not what it always plays out to be. You see, the argument is greater success in finance and education amongst white people. Markers such as illegitimate births and the absence of black fathers have more to do with this uneven outcome. Single mothers live in poverty more than married families. What I have seen in my research in preparing for this is that I want to say it was in the 70s or 60s, that 20% of black families were without a father. That means 8 in 10 black families had a father in the home. Today, 60% of black families are without a father, and 4 in 10 have a father. And so what we are seeing is not a white racial shift or a white privilege, in my estimation. What we're seeing is a decay of the family within the black culture specifically, but really within culture at large. One of the God-given institutions that we have that actually provides stability across the lines of all of our culture is the family. And the family is established by God as a husband and a father and a wife and a mother who work in unison to raise children. But that is being eroded. And that's some of the struggles that we have. If we're going to hang on in some respects of finding some consistency and continuity moving forward, one of the things that we need to have success with is we need to have families have some success. We need fathers to stay invested with their kids. We need fathers to be heads of their homes. Now, I'm sure I'm talking to the choir here, but anything you can do to encourage that around you, please do so, because that is a very significant decay in our culture. Transgender affirming. We'll go just one or two more here. Just defined as a person whose gender identity differs from the sex the person had or was identified as having at birth. And again, we're, through the Black Lives Movement, are being asked to affirm transgenderism, which is just a rejection of the God-given design within people. He creates us male and female. It is not something we get to choose. Genesis 1:27 is again a reminder of that. I'm going to probably say Genesis a lot, because it is a place in which these foundational things are laid before us. Number 5, black women. Let me start with this here in the yellow. From their website says, we build a space that affirms black women and is free from sexism, misogyny, and environments in which men are centered. Misogyny is a belief that men are hostile towards women, girls, females in general. Now, what they are saying here is that black women, affirms black women are free from sexism, misogyny, and the environments. Now, sexism is the belief that one gender is superior to the other. What I find interesting is, because they feel as a black woman or women in general, that they are subservient to males and therefore sexism exists. We're going to try to eradicate the headship of the male and flip the scales, and in essence bring sexism back into the equation, but from the different direction. And so they're not really resolving anything. Free from sexism, they actually are promoting sexism. Free from misogyny, they promote the destruction of male headship. And so while this idea of black women, if they have been looked down upon in society, that certainly is wrong, and we should be mindful of that. But to just simply flip the scales and call it a fix and a correction is not a fix and a correction. It is simply just doing more of it, and now you're the one in power and in charge. And that doesn't get us where we need to be. From a biblical worldview, again, Genesis, understanding the nature of both man and woman as being fallen individuals. 1 Peter reminds us that in the same way, you wives, be submissive to your husbands, so that even if any of them are disobedient to the word, that they may be won without a word by the behavior of their wives. And so we see that God is exhorting the wives here to be submissive to your husbands, even if you live with an unregenerate man, so that that might be an opportunity for him to know Christ. And as men, Ephesians 5 here says, husbands, love your wives just as Christ also loved the church. He gave himself up for her, so that he might sanctify her, having cleansed her by the washing of water with the word, that he might present himself to the church in all her glory, having no spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that she would be holy and blameless. So husbands ought to also love their own wives as their own bodies. He who loves his own wife loves himself. For no one ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it, just as Christ also does the church. I love my wife. I do not want to abuse, take advantage of, overrun her. If I did, I would be heartbroken. My relationship with her, I've been given the role of headship, but I haven't been given the role to dominate, to abuse. I've just simply been given the role of headship. We work together as one. But if at the end of the day, she's beaten down, frustrated, because of things that I've done and the way I treat her, that's not her fault, that's mine. I feel the responsibility and the weight of that. We as husbands in here, we know that, but there's a whole world that doesn't know that, doesn't have that, and doesn't walk in that. Men, be the best husband you can be. Love your wives. The best thing you can ever do for your children is to love your wife with all your heart. That's what brings honor to God. And that's why this particular movement is from the devil. I don't know how else to say it. Let's stop right there. Any thoughts, comments, questions, Chris?
I saw a meme the other day, and there's 3 black men sitting in court. A criminal sitting behind the fence, a lawyer sitting next to him, and bailiff standing behind him. 3 black men. It all comes down to choices. Those 3 individuals made choices, privilege or not. I was raised poor by a single mother. Not saying I'm anything special, but it was choices that everybody makes. You choose to honor your wife. I choose to honor Vicky. It's choices. And these people have made the wrong choices, and now they're trying to change the rules instead of, they want to change the rules and make everybody else change instead of them realizing their mistake or their poor choice.
Unfortunately, it's the nature of fallen humanity.
Eve had a choice.
In that we have a desire to find ways to save ourselves. When all my hope is in this world and in my strength, I will clamor for anything and everything that will make me feel better about that disconnect. And so what we see here is part of this movement, and we'll touch on more of this next week. Part of this movement is they want to identify as a group, and the group gains value because of a cause. And God doesn't judge us as groups. He doesn't. And the wonderful thing is we've all done things. I'm sorry, Dave. We've all done things that we deserve to be totally condemned to hell. The beauty is that Christ's righteousness was imputed to us because he chose us and redeemed us and regenerated us. I, as an individual, get to stand in front of a holy God, and I deserve justice, which means I deserve to be crushed. And when he sees me, he sees Christ applied to me. Not as a group, not as flipping the scales, not trying to manipulate the system, but as a saved and redeemed individual. That's where we got to be, people. That's where we got to be. Go ahead, Jake.
I'm remembering your sermon from 2 weeks ago, talking out of Ephesians. Just the reminder that, man, but for the grace of God, we would all be doing the same thing that's been happening, not just in our generation, but in every major society in all of history. We would justify our own choices, like you're saying. We would blame shift. We would try to, in every way, say, it's not my fault, it's my circumstances, or whatever. That's always happened because we do what we want. We sin because we want to. And that's where we're broken. Man, Jesus wept because of that and maybe many other aspects of that brokenness in man, where we've lost trust in him, or even those of us who know him, we believe, but we say help our unbelief. So just the reminder of what you said out of that is, we're not at war against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities and dark forces. And the only way we can fight this fight is through the power of the Spirit, and with love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, faithfulness, goodness, self-control. And so, thank you. This is wonderful. It's a good reminder.
I was just going to say, the Christian perspective here is just, it's not, I don't think it's heard enough. Certainly in the noise that we see on social media or in the news, it's just such a narrow space, and we use it. We've got to come together because it is so much compelling, because we're in such a battle. There's such a cultural, this ideological war that is just in full flame right now.
Yeah.
And it is such a unique place to be, to understand. I heard someone say this last week in looking at the crucifixion, looking at Pilate's interaction with Christ, and to say, I identify with Barabbas. That's who we are. We're Barabbas. So it's back to the point of we're all guilty before God, and people are so inflamed because they see that they're wrong. And I'm saying, and the truth is, yeah, people are wrong. We're wrong. We may be more correct in a certain position, but the idea is mankind is fallen. We're so broken, so damaged, so destroyed, and we need a Savior. So.
Anybody else? All right, we're going to pick back up here next week, and we'll go finish through this and go a little bit deeper with a few of the thoughts. Jake, would you be willing to close this in prayer, please, sir?
Lord, thank you so much for your word. It's a light into our path. Lord, the world is dark and we know it. And so, as you say, these dark times, to make the most of our time. Lord, help us to walk by your Spirit, to surrender to your word, moment by moment, thought by thought, step by step, that we would do and say and be all you would have us to do, say and be. Lord, we do cry out, come quickly, Lord Jesus. We long to be with you, but we know that you have set before us good works that are prepared beforehand, that we would walk in. us and give us great joy in your presence. And that in that joy we find our strength to do all these things that you have for us. So, Lord, thank you for this time, a glorious day to be together, worshiping you in song and in your word. And we just pray that we'd be forever changed by this interaction, that we would hear your word, that you have speak to us through your servant, that you set apart to rightly divide the word, your word, in season, out of season. Thank you, Lord. It's very much out of season.